Well, hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well. And again, thank you for another edition of the Lives and Lessons Learned of 100 Christians. Today, we're doing somebody named George Muller, born Johann George Ferdinand Muller in Prussia, which is now modern-day Germany. He was a Prussian-born Christian evangelist, pastor, and philanthropist whose life exemplified radical faith in God's provision. That's the line you probably should remember about George Muller. Renowned for founding and directing the Ashley Down orphanages in Bristol, England, he cared for over 10,000 orphans without ever soliciting any donations, relying solely on prayer to fund the operations that cost the equivalent of about £100 million in today's money. I have no idea what that is in dollars. A key figure in the Plymouth Brethren movement, later known as the Open Brethren, Muller's work extended to global missions, Bible distribution, and preaching to millions. His autobiography and detailed journeys reveal a man transformed from youthful debauchery into a beacon of unwavering trust in God, proving that divine faithfulness could sustain vast humanitarian efforts. Again, born September 27th, 1805 in Prussia, to a tax collector father and a pious but distant mother. His childhood was marred by rebellion. By age 10, he was stealing from his father, and as a teen, he escalated to lying, gambling, womanizing, and even burglary. Multiple times he was arrested, once in prison for 6 months for theft. He lived a life of almost every form of sin, is the quote, as he later confessed, with no remorse towards God. His mother's death in 1820, while he roamed drunk in the streets, underscored his estrangement from faith. Sent to a strict university in Halle in 1825 to study law, he continued his excesses but encountered a turning point. A cellmate in prison introduced him to a Bible study group. On November 30th, 1825, at age 20, Muller attended a prayer meeting where believers knelt in devotion, a sight that pierced his heart. He converted that evening, experiencing joy without deep initial sorrow, but marking it as the turning point in my life. Under the influence of a missionary, Anthony Norris Groves, he embraced poverty, simplicity, and total reliance on God, abandoning his studies to pursue ministry. Inspired by August Hermann Francke's 17th century orphanages in Halle built on prayer without appeals, Muller launched his own in 1836. Starting small, he rented a house at 6 Wilson Street for 30 girls, expanding to care for boys and infants, reaching 130 children by 1837. In 1849, he built the first Ashley Down Orphanage, number 1, a massive structure for 300 children, followed by 4 more in 1870, housing 2,000 and its peak capacity. He never borrowed money or publicized needs. Instead, he prayed privately, recording over 50,000 specific prayers and journals. Many answered dramatically. Miracles abounded. Breakfast arrived unasked for, just as kitchens emptied. Money flowed from unsolicited sources, including poor donors. Funds supported not only orphanages, but Bibles and 1.4 million New Testaments, and missions like Hudson Taylor's in China. Muller educated the children, teaching reading, writing, trades, elevating them beyond societal expectations, and drawing criticism for raising the poor above their station. Can you imagine? He also founded schools, distributed tracts, and aided missionaries everywhere. Mary's death in 1870 from illness devastated him, but he remarried a woman named Susan Sanger in 1872. From age 70, they embarked on a 17-year-old preaching tour across 42 countries, addressing 3 million people despite his frailty. Muller read the Bible 4 times a year, prayed hours each day, and led his first prayer meeting his final prayer meeting the night before his death. He died March 10th, 1898 at 92 in Surrey after a peaceful evening with Suzanne. His funeral halted Bristol with thousands, including former orphans, mourning the guardian of Bristol's orphans, as they're known. Leaving only £1 in his pocket, he had distributed £1.5 million in his lifetime. The orphanages continued until 1959 when state care advanced. Today, the Muller Foundation upholds his prayer-only principle. So, some lessons to learn. Total dependence on prayer. God honors bold, specific prayer without human crutches. Provision follows faith, not appeals. The Bible is nourishment for our soul. Spiritually, vitality mirrors Scripture's centrality. Immerse daily in fuel faith to combat doubt. Faith over fear and anxiety. Trust silences worry. God's sovereignty satisfies the soul, freeing us from worldly lusts. Transformation through grace. No one is beyond redemption. God's grace turns sinners into vessels for his glory. How about this one? Simplicity and integrity. Live transparently to showcase God's faithfulness. Avoid debt or publicity for pure publicity for pure motives. Live with pure motives. Satisfaction in God alone. True joy comes from delighting in him, not circumstances. This is what fuels endurance. Muller's life echoes Psalm 37:25. I have not seen the righteous forsaken or their children begging for bread. In a materialistic age, he challenges us to pray audaciously, trust implicitly, and live for God's honor, proving one ordinary life yielded to an extraordinary God can feed thousands, both body and soul. All right. Again, thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully you're inspired by the life of George Muller. Take care. God bless.